Hello there, my name is Jason Perkins. I want to welcome you to another episode in my Georgia Workers' Compensation video series. I'm an attorney who specializes in helping people who've been injured at work with workers' compensation cases. I created this series because I wanted to provide people who've been hurt at work with helpful information about Georgia's workers' compensation law, the rules of Georgia workers' compensation, and the benefits available to them. Today, I want to talk to you about late penalties in workers' compensation, and specifically how you can make workers' compensation pay late penalties. And before we get into that discussion, the first thing that's important to understand is what workers' compensation late penalties are owed and when they are due. There's three types of late penalties that typically apply in workers' compensation cases. There's late penalties for payment of your workers' compensation checks. There's late penalties for payments of settlements or awards. There's late penalties for payments of medical bills or mileage reimbursement. So let's start with the late penalties for payment of checks. So in workers' compensation cases, if you're out of work as a result of your injury, or if you're working but making less money, or if you have a permanent partial disability rating, workers' compensation may pay you weekly checks. Those checks are due on certain dates. And the checks can be late if they're not mailed on time to you at the proper address. Now, when the checks have to be mailed depends on whether the insurance company is mailing them from inside of Georgia or outside of Georgia. If they're mailed from inside of Georgia, they have to be mailed by the last date that they're paying you for. Generally, these checks are paid weekly, so a check might be paying you from March 1st to March 7th. If it's being mailed from in Georgia, that check needs to be mailed by March 7th. If that same check paying you from March 1st to March 7th is being mailed from outside Georgia, has to be mailed 3 days before that last date. So in that example, it would have to be mailed by March 4th. If the checks are not mailed on time, the insurance company owes a 15% late penalty on the checks. Now let's talk about payments of settlements or awards. There's a late penalty associated with the late payment of those as well, and that's a 20% late penalty. Generally, an insurance company has 20 days to pay an award or a settlement from when that award is issued. So if the insurance company does not pay that settlement or award within 20 days, they probably owe a 20% late penalty, which can be significant. The third situation when penalties are owed that really applies to you is when medical bills or mileage reimbursement is not paid on time. The insurance company has 15 days to reimburse you for your mileage from when it's submitted to the insurance company. But the law that applies to penalties for late payment of mileage doesn't kick in until 30 days after that 15 days. So really, the insurance company has 45 days to reimburse you for mileage before they owe late penalties. The mileage late penalty is a little bit more complicated than the other late penalties. The penalty actually continues going up over time. I'm not going to discuss all those details here, but it's just important to know if they don't reimburse you for your mileage within 15 days of submission, the insurance company should be paying a late penalty on top of that. Now that we've discussed insurance companies, what they should pay as far as late penalties, the next thing is, how do you make them pay them? Well, you're going to have to request that they pay them. Insurance companies almost never pay them voluntarily. Even if they should do that, I just don't see them doing that. Whether the checks are late and they know that they're late, they generally don't issue the late penalties associated with those late checks. So you're going to have to know when the late penalties are due in order to make sure that they get paid. If you don't know when they're due, then you can't go to the insurance company and request payment of them. So what if you go to the insurance company and request that they pay the late penalties and the insurance company just doesn't pay them? Well, you're probably going to have to take further steps. At that point, you're probably going to have to get a workers' compensation judge involved to get the penalties paid. This might be with either filing a motion or requesting a hearing to get penalties paid. And if you're going to take either of these steps, I certainly would recommend getting an attorney involved, because there's certain rules with filing motions and going to court in workers' compensation cases. And if you don't follow those rules, you may not present the evidence that's needed to get the benefits that you should receive. I hope you found this information about making the workers' compensation insurance company pay the late penalties helpful. If you have, please let me know that. The best way you can do that is by liking this video or giving it a thumbs up. If you want to see more videos from the Georgia Workers' Compensation video series, please visit our Perkins Studdard Workers' Compensation YouTube channel and subscribe to be notified of future videos as they come out. If you've got some specific questions about your workers' compensation case, I would definitely recommend that you reach out and schedule a free consultation with me. I'm happy to discuss your case with you, and there's two easy ways you can set that consultation up. First is by contacting our office at the phone number on the bottom of the screen, and the other is by visiting our website, which is www.perkinslawtalk.com, and clicking and submitting the free consultation request form there, and someone from our workers' compensation team will reach out to you to get that consultation scheduled. I'd like to thank you again for watching today, and I will wish you the best of luck as you recover from this injury.